Should your crypto team build its own analytics infrastructure or buy it? It's a decision that can have a major impact on engineering resources, time to market, and ultimately how quickly your team can make data-driven decisions. In this video, we'll break down the real trade-offs between building and buying crypto analytics, including cost, technical requirements, maintenance, and opportunity cost. We'll also look at when building makes sense, when buying is the better option, and how to evaluate the two approaches for your own team. There are 3 things we'll cover. First, what building crypto analytics requires, from the underlying infrastructure to the ongoing maintenance and engineering resources. Second, what buying delivers, including faster time to value, a different cost structure, and the engineering capacity you can free up. And third, how to decide. We'll look at the situations where building makes sense, when buying is more practical, and the 4 criteria that should guide the decision. There are 3 ideas to keep in mind. First, building crypto analytics is fundamentally a team commitment rather than a single project. A serious internal build can require 3 to 5 senior engineers for 6 to 12 months. And after launch, maintenance can continue to consume a meaningful amount of engineering capacity. Second, building should be the exception. It makes sense when you have specialized compliance requirements, analytics are part of your core intellectual property, or you have a large enough engineering team to maintain the infrastructure. For standard analytics requirements, buying usually gives you a faster path to value. And third, 4 criteria should drive the decision: total cost of ownership, time to value, technical requirements, and opportunity cost. The underlying problem is that traditional analytics tools don't give crypto teams the complete picture. Google Analytics can tell you about page views, sessions, and referral sources, but it can't tell you what happened on-chain after that visit. Mixpanel can track product events and funnels inside an application, but it doesn't give you the full picture of on-chain activity and wallet profiles. So teams end up with fragmented user journeys. You might know where someone came from, what they did in the application, and what wallet they connected, but those pieces aren't necessarily connected. That makes it difficult to understand the complete user journey, measure true campaign ROI, or identify high-value users across chains. To get that complete picture, crypto analytics needs to bring together 3 types of data. First, on-chain data. This includes transactions, wallet interactions, and smart contract events. For example, knowing that a swap completed and a contract event was triggered. Second, wallet intelligence. This gives you context around the wallet, including its holdings, DeFi positions, and activity across different chains. And third, off-chain data. This includes website visits, application usage, and marketing touchpoints. The value comes from connecting these 3 layers. You can see the campaign click, the wallet connect, the on-chain transaction, and the user's subsequent activity as part of one journey. So what should you consider when deciding whether to build or buy? The first factor is cost, and that means more than development costs. You need to account for maintenance, security updates, infrastructure, and scaling. Second is time to market. While your team is building the analytics foundation, competitors can continue optimizing their products and acquisition strategies. Third is technical expertise. Crypto analytics requires knowledge of blockchain protocols, large-scale data processing, and specialized security considerations. Fourth is control versus convenience. Building gives you more customization and control, but you also take responsibility for the complexity. And fifth is scalability. As you add chains, users, data, and integrations, your analytics infrastructure has to scale with them. Now let's look at what building crypto analytics really involves. It's easy to think of analytics as a dashboard, but the dashboard is only the visible part. Behind it is a much larger infrastructure layer that has to collect, process, connect, and maintain the data. Let's break down what's involved. There are 4 major systems you need to build. First is the data processing pipeline. You need real-time ingestion from multiple blockchains, normalized transactions and contract events, and systems that can handle chain reorganizations. Second is the wallet intelligence engine. This needs to understand wallet behavior, token holdings, DeFi positions, whale wallets, and activity across chains. Third is attribution. You need to connect an off-chain user journey to an eventual on-chain transaction, including anonymous session tracking and identity matching. And finally, you need the analytics interface itself. Dashboards, funnels, cohort analysis, and custom reporting all have to be built on top of the underlying data infrastructure. So building a dashboard is the easy part. The real project is everything underneath it. And once the system launches, the work continues. You have to maintain SDKs across frameworks, applications, and wallet providers. You need to maintain your APIs and keep up with privacy requirements, query performance, and real-time data. You need to maintain integrations with wallets, DEXs, and DeFi protocols. And then there is chain compatibility. Protocol upgrades can break existing integrations, which means your team needs to continually monitor and update the system. In our research, maintenance can consume 40 to 60% of engineering time after the initial deployment. That maintenance tail is one of the most important costs to include when comparing build versus buy. So what does that investment look like? The deck estimates 3 to 5 senior engineers working as a dedicated team, with an initial build taking around 6 to 12 months. That's approximately $300,000 per year in engineering resources alone. And that number doesn't include infrastructure, third-party data feeds, security audits, or the opportunity cost of taking engineers away from the core product. So the headline engineering cost is only part of the equation. The more important question is what else that engineering team could have shipped during those 6 to 12 months. Now let's look at the other side. What happens when you buy instead of build? The main advantage goes beyond simply avoiding development work. It's speed. A specialized analytics platform already has the infrastructure, integrations, and analytics capabilities in place. That means your team can start using the data much sooner and spend its engineering capacity on the product itself. The biggest difference is time to value. An internal build can take 6 to 12 months to reach equivalent functionality. Until that pipeline is ready, your team doesn't have the complete analytics picture. With a pre-built platform, the underlying integrations already exist. Instead of spending months building the foundation, integration can happen in a matter of weeks. That means optimization can start much earlier. For a crypto team competing in a fast-moving market, getting insights in weeks instead of months can be a meaningful advantage. The cost picture also changes significantly. The deck estimates a first-year build cost of more than $500,000 when you include engineering, infrastructure, maintenance, and security audits, which alone can run $50,000 or more each. Buying is presented as an annual cost in the range of $12,000 to $50,000 depending on usage. The comparison here goes beyond one number being lower than the other. You're weighing a software expense against the cost of building and maintaining an internal engineering capability. The deck also estimates that teams can save 90 to 95% in time to production by buying rather than building. For teams with standard analytics requirements, that difference can matter a great deal. There is another benefit to buying that is harder to capture in a simple cost comparison. It's engineering capacity. According to the deck, DeFi teams using Formo have redirected 3 to 4 engineers away from infrastructure work and back toward core product features. That means those engineers can work on things that directly differentiate the product. New features, better onboarding, new integrations, product improvements. This opportunity cost is often one of the most valuable parts of the build versus buy decision. This decision is about more than where to get analytics. It's about where your engineering team spends its time. So, we've looked at both sides. Building gives you control and customization, but comes with significant infrastructure and maintenance requirements. Buying gives you faster deployment and lets your team focus on the product, but means relying on an external platform. So, when should you choose each? Let's look at the criteria. There are 4 situations where building can make sense. First, highly specialized compliance requirements. For example, regulated financial institutions may need custom audit trails or data handling that commercial platforms can't provide. Second, when analytics infrastructure is genuinely core intellectual property. If your competitive advantage depends on proprietary data processing or unique algorithms, building may be justified. Third, when you have a large engineering team. The deck uses 10 or more engineers as a benchmark for having the dedicated expertise needed to maintain a custom analytics system. And fourth, unique use cases. If you're working with novel protocol designs or experimental crypto mechanics that existing platforms can't support, you may need to build something custom. These are the exceptions where the control and customization of building can justify the investment. For most teams, the criteria for buying are much more straightforward. Buy when you need fast time to market. If you need actionable insights in weeks rather than months, building from scratch may be too slow. Buy when your requirements are standard. User tracking, wallet intelligence, attribution, and similar analytics capabilities are already common requirements. Buy when you want engineers focused on the product. If analytics infrastructure isn't your competitive advantage, your engineering team may be better used elsewhere. And finally, buy when you want predictable costs and access to specialized expertise without hiring and maintaining an internal analytics infrastructure team. If you're comparing the two options, use 4 criteria. First, technical requirements. List the specific chains, integrations, and analytics features your product needs. Second, cost. Compare more than the initial development cost against the software subscription. Calculate total cost of ownership over 2 or 3 years, including maintenance and security. Third, time to value. How quickly does your team need the data to make product decisions? And fourth, resource allocation. What happens to your engineering roadmap under each option? If you build, what projects get delayed? If you buy, what can those engineers work on instead? This gives you a much more realistic comparison than looking at the price tag alone. Ultimately, this comes down to 3 trade-offs: control versus speed. Building gives you control, but 6 to 12 months of development means you're waiting to get the full value from your analytics. Customization versus cost. Custom infrastructure gives you flexibility, but maintenance, security, and scaling can push the total cost well beyond the initial estimate. And internal versus external expertise. If analytics isn't your core product differentiator, your engineering resources may be better spent building the things that are. For most crypto teams with standard analytics requirements, buying represents the more practical choice. The goal is measuring what matters on-chain, not simply collecting more analytics. Formo brings analytics and attribution together for DeFi apps, connecting user behavior with on-chain activity so teams can understand what's driving growth. If you're evaluating your crypto analytics stack, you can learn more or book a demo at formo.so/demo.